and be like, oh, well, you know what, maybe, you know, these crow's feet are a blessing because it shows that I've smiled and I've lived and I've had laughs versus, oh my God. Ooh.
Yes, no, exactly. And like story time. I don't think I've ever told this story before, like on any podcast or anything like that. But like, so right before I went into rehab for my eating disorder, when I was I was on the first season of NXT and whatnot. And I was wrestling, I believe it was Audrey Marie, who was one of my like longtime friends. Like, God bless her. She's a wonderful lady. But so I had her in my gory bomb, but like I couldn't get her up in the gory bomb, and I dropped it. Like, and we were taping and whatnot, and I had like the fans chant, like give the worst chant ever of "You can't wrestle," and like my heart was sinking. I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I dropped my gory bomb. But backstory behind all of that was that I was at the height of my eating disorder. I was like binging like crazy, but then starving myself for days at a time. And I was like, and it was TV. So I was like in the middle of a starving spurt. And so I hadn't eaten and whatnot. And so I was like, well, yeah, no wonder you can't like hoist somebody up over your back and do the whole big kaboom. And it was at the end of the match. It was like supposed to be like me going over, and it was just like the worst moment ever. And I was just like, if only they could understand like what I was going through. But like, yeah, there's just so much, I guess there's just so much more, and we need to be kind to one another, because it's just like whether it's in wrestling or not, but it's just like you don't know what somebody's going through.
No.
And so, but yeah, I've never like admitted that, and like, or I guess the only fans that knew about that were the fans like in the audience live that night. And God bless Audrey, like she was so kind to me and whatnot. Afterward, make sure I was okay, but I was just like, and then literally like that same week I went into rehab, like to get help. So it's crazy.
Well, thank you for being so candid first and foremost. You know, this is what this podcast is really all about, is like not just helping wrestling fans, but helping people in life in general. So, and I know I mentioned that to you before, but when people such as yourself can actually talk about those things and talk about why it happened and what you learned from it, and being like completely honest with complete earnestness, I think that helps a lot more people than people realize. I don't think that that's something that anybody should feel ashamed of. Like, congrats to you. You got help. Like you figured out your shizit. You know what I mean? And that takes a lot of guts. That takes a lot of, okay, I'm worth so much more than I'm giving myself credit for. Let me go and do something about this so I can be the best me for the woman I want to be someday. That's what I got out of your story. You know, thanks. A lot of people would be like, oh, boo-hoo. But no, those are the people that will never understand, because you'll never change their mind. So yeah, for those you can't wrestle chants, it's like, as soon as you said that, immediately the heel in me was just like, well, I already got your money, so.
Well, like, and thank God, like, I mean, and that's the whole thing. It was like I did at the time, like, I knew I needed help because, like, people, like, I had like a handful of people that were like, you're not okay. We need to get you help. And then WWE, thankfully, like, they did pay for my rehab and made sure I was good to go. Well, like, not a lot of people can say that. They did take care of me, but I had friends like Joey Mercury, like, was like, girl,
it's amazing.
You need to get help. And there was this wonderful trainer named Rob, and that we worked out with at FCW, and he was like, yeah, you're not okay. And so, but like, that's why we have to be kind to one another, and like pay attention to your friends, check on your friends, especially in the middle of whatever the hell this dumpster fire of a year is. Check on people and be kind to them, because you don't know. And I don't know where I would be if those people didn't step up and say like, hey, like, let's help you out. So for sure. And then yes, I got brave once I was in there to be like, okay, yeah, maybe I should take care of myself.
And I think the thing is like, you are nowhere close to being the only one, you know, a former knockout before she was a knockout. Her name is Sojo Bolt. I remember her telling me, you know, she was like, hey, before I got signed to TNA as Sojourner Bolt, she's like, I had WWE tryouts, you know, she's like, I wore the blonde and brown wigs. I did everything to make myself. And she called it the black girl spot, because at the time that's what it was. There was just one. And she broke it down for me. And I remember that was the first time I had ever heard that. Mm-hmm. And I was like, wow. And I paid attention from there on, and I was like, she was spot on. And she was like, but look at how many blondes there are. Just because they're white, but they have to be blonde. You know, there was only one Asian spot, if any. Like, she broke it down so well. And I remember her telling me, she was like, Taylor, when I went for my tryout, I already knew Beth from OVW, she said. And she was like, Beth, you need to help me. I am on so few calories, I can't even think. You need to guide me through this tryout match. And I think a lot of fans don't realize that that happens all the time. My WWE tryout was literally a couple weeks after I found out I got lung disease. I had lung disease.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and I had to go to the performance center, and I was dieting, and I felt like I was in the best shape of my life. I had brand new gear, like all this other stuff, and like that was one of the hardest things I had ever done in my life. Like, our tryout kept getting in trouble because people weren't cheering for people. Okay. And then here I am, I'm like, yeah, go Havoc, woo!
You're like blowing yourself up cheering for people.
Yeah, and because we had an odd number of girls, I did a couple drills twice, and I really shouldn't have, but I wanted to show like, hey, I'm a team player, right? So then we have to go to the the workout portion of it where you work out with some of the trainers so they can see what you've got. And I made it through everything down to the last workout drill. And I went to the bathroom thinking I was going to throw up because I just had nothing left in my tank. And I didn't, but nobody knows that because I still went to the bathroom thinking that I was going to throw up because I could not breathe.
Oh, God.
And it's like, they don't know that I didn't. But yeah, so every time we got in trouble, they made us drop and do push-ups every single time. And I remember being so proud. I was like, I didn't go on my knees to do girl push-ups, not even once. I was like, I did it, such a meathead. But it was like, I couldn't think straight. I couldn't do anything. I was like, mind blown seeing stars because I was so low on calories, and so many of us do that. And then the anxiety eating, and then the pressure eating, and then the feeling guilty, so then starving. It's like a sense of control even though you're out of control. And so many people, in not just sports but in life, do that. Like, I think eating disorders is one of like the top disorders in the United States because of how accessible it is, how easy.
Yes, no, absolutely. Even till this day, like, I have, like, when I feel out of control, my first impulse is to be like, okay, well, I'm going to diet. And it's like, oh my God, like, I've been through rehab. I've been, like, thankfully I haven't been active with the exception of like 1 or 2 times of like having a really awful day, and people, they trip up, and it's like, all right, get back on the horse, and you keep going. But like, even to this day, that's my first instinct is to let's control the food or and whatnot. And so it's just like, but it's like being aware of it is the first thing, which clearly you have beautiful self-awareness, and I think that's what rehab does, is help you get self-aware and whatnot. But it's hard. It's so hard. And I can only imagine, like, because when you walk into the performance center, it's great facility and whatnot. They have like all these like star-studded trainers everywhere. You're just like, holy hell. So that initially gets your adrenaline like up, and you're like, I'm going to do everything I can. And you're right. You turn into like this meathead a little bit. Like, it's like, I need to go. And, up and stuff like that. And then that on top of you dieting and having like no energy, and then on top of your lung disease, on top of like just the pressure of like, I need to do amazing. It's a lot. It's so much. Yeah.
And like, people don't realize, like, just getting to the performance center seems like a goal, and yeah, it absolutely is. But getting signed is not the end game. People don't realize that. Keeping your job, making it to the main roster, and then getting to the top of the main roster and maintaining that is the end game that most people don't realize. They jump for joy when they get signed or get their tryout, but a lot of people don't realize some of these people had 4 and 5 and 6 tryouts before they were signed. That's a lot of mind screwing, and like you said, it's so easy to turn into that meathead. I remember getting weighed. We had a line of people, and we were all weighed in front of each other, and I got so mad that I weighed in at like 132.8 or something like that.
Right.
And I was mad. I was like, oh girl, I was
That sounds dope. Like,
I was PO'd to the max, girl. I was so mad. And get this, I remember asking them, oh, hey, it was one of the referees. He was so awesome about it. He was so funny because I remember laughing like, well, I guess I really should have taken all these knee pads off, huh? Because we were all geared up, ready to go into one of the 3 rings to train. But in that main area where they had all the bags and everything like that, we had to weigh in and get our height done. Yeah. So I'm like, I'm 5'7" and I weighed at 132.8. And I was like, I should have taken off these thick Nike sneakers and these. That's immediately what's going through my head. I'm like, I have elbow pads on, I have knee pads on, I have shoes on. Taylor, that was stupid. Like, and that seems so bizarre because it's like 132. Shoot, I would love to weigh 132 again. But at that moment, I was so mad because in my head, I thought back to TNA when people called me fat when I weighed 133. So I got so mad. But this is what people don't understand is like being kind does not make you weak. It doesn't make you a sucker. It makes you a really strong person. To look somebody in the face that you were just like, if you were gone tomorrow, I would throw a party. And to be nice to that person, it doesn't mean you're fake. It means you're choosing to be kind. You're choosing to be a better person. Yeah. But a lot of times people don't realize that in order to be kind to other people, you also have to be kind to yourself too. You have to forgive yourself and love yourself.
That's the hardest part. And it is. And I don't know if it's like, I'm sure it's not just wrestlers because I think it's performers, it's athletes, it's people that perform at a high level. We have this wonderful, like, we just like to give ourselves lashings, like, for everything. Like, this wasn't perfect. And like, wrestlers beat themselves up so much about not having the perfect match. There is no such thing as a perfect match. But like, we love to just like analyze every single little thing and be like, oh my God, I hated that. And like, even in dance, like, I feel the same way. Like, I'll be like, oh, why didn't I do this little thing or whatever? But it's just like trying to have grace with yourself, which is so hard because it's like, you get me all pumped up, like, yes, we need to be kinder to ourselves. But then it's also like, like, practicing is like so much harder than preaching, you know, because I can guarantee you, I'm like, at my workout tomorrow, I'm going to be like, damn it, like, why didn't I add another 10 pounds? Like, I probably could have done more, like my form or whatever. But yeah, I feel you. Like, we have to try and practice on ourselves. That way we can be able to extend that to others.
Yes, because, you know, like, think of it this way. I have no problem admitting I got so lost in the business. I got so lost in the business, I lost myself. I looked in the mirror and I was like, I don't like these people. These people don't like me. They're not nice. They're like really shady. I don't even want to look at myself in the mirror. What am I doing? Is this what I dreamed of when I was a child? No. Is this the goal that I had set for myself? No. Do I feel comfortable? Do I look around and look at what I see and do I feel inspired? And it was like, no. So then it was like, what am I doing about it? You know, do I like the view? No. So I'm not a tree with roots stuck in the ground. So why don't I get up and go and find an environment that suits me, find my people instead of people that aren't for me? You know, and I think those are hard questions that people don't want to ask themselves. But if you look in the mirror and you can't look back as if to like subliminally say like, hey, kid that I used to be, I got you and we're going to do some epic shizit, then what are you doing with your life? Like, not everybody needs to be a CEO or a business owner. Like, you got to do you. But you have those dreams for a reason, so why not at least try while you're blessed enough to do so, you know? Exactly. And to me, that's what changed everything. I went from being so unaware to completely aware, and it was like, wow, I'm almost woke in that sense. Like, I feel too uncool to use that, but that's like what it felt like. I was like, oh wow, I can see for the first time I'm alive. I can feel myself breathing fresh air for the first time in a long time. But what am I going to do with that from now on? How am I going to protect that from now on? How am I going to keep looking myself in the mirror every day to give the little girl I used to be, who made way for me to become the person I am today, a high five? What am I doing to be the adult I needed as a child? And I think that's the difference. And I think that you're onto that as well. It's like, when I was a little girl, is this who I imagined being when I grew up someday? Right. You know, and I think that's what you're doing now. And I think that's what I think the world would be a better place, essentially, if more people weren't afraid to do that.
No, I hear you. And like, unfortunately, I feel like I've had that moment of clarity that you had like a couple of years ago, like right after I got out of rehab. It made me look, and I couldn't look at myself in the mirror either. Cause I yes, the business changed me in a way that I didn't like. Like, I didn't like who I become. I became a mean girl. I became someone that was okay, like throwing somebody under the bus, because like, so long as I look good, like that's all that matters. And I like, looking back, I was like, wow, we have fallen far. Like, Dad wouldn't be proud of me for doing that. Like, I'm not proud of myself for doing that, you know? And so, and like, I had to take a lot of hard looks at myself and be like, whoa, okay, so how do we try and get happy? And how do we try? And I had to make amends to everyone I hurt. And I had to like, you know, do the hard work and whatnot. And that's why I took like such a long hiatus from wrestling. Cause I think I had so many like negative connotations, associated with it. And like, I knew who I could become in that business, because I saw her. She just turned into something ugly, and I didn't want to become that again. And so, but I always knew I wanted to wrestle and I wanted to achieve this thing. And I'm going to turn 30 next month. And I'm like, this is go time. Like, if you want to try and do this again the right way, loving yourself and trying and loving others through this process, then now's the time to do it. And so I feel like this is what I'm trying to do now, is I'm trying to like achieve this dream the right way. And I learned a lot. Like, that whole experience made me learn a lot. I'm ashamed of what I've done like in the past, and like bad decisions and stuff like that. But I'm not ashamed of what I did to correct my mistakes and to just keep going and to try and learn from it and be better this time around. So yeah.
That's what's going to make this time around so much more successful, because you're not starting from scratch. You have a recipe, you know?
Thank God. Yeah.
Yeah. I think people are so afraid to start over, but it's not, starting over isn't starting from scratch. You already have life experience. You already have business experience. So you know the rights from wrongs. You know the standard that your dad set, and you know how you want to live up to that. And you know the person that you want to be in the business, but also you know the person that you want to be inside when you are talking to yourself. I think that makes all the difference. And to be honest with you, turning 30 was such a blessing for me. Such a blessing. I had a coffin cake. My cake was a coffin.
I love it.
I was so stoked about it, guys. Oh my cake was so awesome. I'll have to put a GIF of it on some social media platform. It was great. I had little skeletons and like aged sunflowers, because sunflowers are my favorite. And it said, "Taylor, here lies your 20s." I was so excited about it. I was like, yes, I hated my 20s. Get rid of that. Yes, cheers to 30. That's how you got to be. I think 30 is way better than 20. Like, you have so much more life experience. It's so much easier out in the world, and you kind of know who you want to be, and you're still growing up. So to me, 30 was the best thing that ever happened to me. When I turned 30, it was like, okay, I understand what self-love is. I understand how I'm going to go after all my goals and be the person I want to be, regardless of everybody else's opinions. You know, 30 was the best. You're going to have so much fun. And I highly recommend a coffin cake. It was epic. Like, I had crushed Oreos that looked like dirt around the coffin. It was like the most delicious cake.
I'm legit like jealous. I'm like about to tell the husband, like, okay, coffin cake. Like, that's what, but
do
I love
it.
That. Here, like, do 20s, because like, it's true. Like, we're a hot mess in our 20s. We don't know what the hell we're doing. And so I'm just like, and even then, I'm not saying I have it all figured out, because I don't. But like,
none of us do.
You know who you are. Thank God. Like, thank God none of us know what we're doing. But like, but I feel you though. It's just like, you know what though? I know what not to do. And like, thankfully I've like gone through a lot of the hard lessons already. And so I feel you, man. I'm excited for 30s. And plus it's like our prime. That's what I'm hearing is like, yeah, this is the sweet spot.